Okay, let's dive into this explainer. Today, we're looking at something absolutely wild. We're talking about one of the most vital, grueling, and frankly astonishing microeconomies on the planet. Deep in the heart of Africa lies Burundi. It's one of the continent's smallest countries, but honestly, what it lacks in size, it completely makes up for in the sheer unbreakable willpower of its people. We're going to explore the world of Burundi's racing cyclists, the literal human engines who keep this entire nation running. Because if you want to transport goods in Burundi, you don't call a freight company. You call a guy with a bicycle.
Now, what's really interesting to focus on here is this staggering number, 250. Keep this in the back of your mind as we go, because it represents the extreme, literally life-or-death stakes of what we're about to break down.
That 250, that is the weight in kilos of a single cargo load on one of these bicycles. Yeah, you heard that right. That is well over 500 pounds. And this immense weight is entirely loaded by hand, carefully tied down and balanced on a standard, okay, heavily reinforced, but still standard bicycle. Just imagine trying to simply hold a bike upright with over 500 pounds strapped to the back, let alone actually pedaling it across a country.
But honestly, the weight is really only half the story here. Because of the extreme terrain in Burundi, things escalate quickly to this next, equally shocking number. 70 kilometers per hour. See, the terrain is incredibly hilly, so gravity just completely takes over. The sheer weight of the cargo, which is often these massive, towering clusters of bananas, literally pushes these couriers down the steep hills, accelerating them to highway speeds. And the crazy part? They absolutely have to maintain this terrifying momentum. It's the only way they can survive the brutal ascents that are waiting for them right around the next corner.
And to truly wrap our heads around the danger these guys are facing every single day, well, just think about this final number in our sequence, 0. 0. That's exactly how much stopping power they have on these massive descents. Absolutely none. Think about it. If a cyclist flying at 70 kilometers per hour with 250 kilos of cargo were to even tap their brakes, the sheer friction and pressure would cause the tires to instantly explode. So they can't stop. No way. They just have to ride it out with pure, unadulterated skill, white-knuckling it and hoping for the best until the road finally angles back up.
So where does this intense journey actually start? Let's head over to the northern banana route. Now, even though Burundi is a poor country, the land itself, especially up here on the northern plateau, is incredibly fertile. And bananas, they are the absolute staple. Dozens of different types are grown here, and they really form the backbone of the entire local economy.
And one of the most important products they make from these bananas is called umu. It's Burundi's national banana beer, and it is a massive economic driver. Take Pamphile, for example. He's been brewing banana beer professionally for 15 years, using it to support his family and his workers. But Pamphile, he doesn't dare cycle those heavy loads himself. It's way too dangerous. Instead, he relies on young couriers, guys like 22-year-old Tazian, who regularly loads up 160 kilos of bananas and pedals them 15 kilometers just to earn enough to feed his own family.
The actual production of umu is fascinating. First, Pamphile lets the bananas ripen in a pit until they hit that perfect sweetness. Then comes the squeezing phase. His workers use fresh, clean hay to help extract the liquid, and believe it or not, that hay actually imparts a really special flavor to the juice. Finally, they add brewer's yeast to ferment the whole mixture over a couple of days. It's this brilliant, entirely local process that spins the whole regional economy, creating jobs and sustaining families, without a single corporate factory anywhere in sight.
Okay, but to get those goods from the rural north down to the bustling capital, these cyclists have to face the terrifying realities of the highway. This is the main transit route winding from the Rwandan border all the way down to Tanzania. And let me tell you, it is fraught with peril. Listen to Eric, a veteran courier who hauls 14 banana clusters at a time. That's about 250 kilos. He puts it pretty bluntly. One mistake, and I would lose my balance in the curves and crash. The ascents here are so incredibly steep and totally exhausting that a lot of cyclists feel forced into a really dangerous choice. They give in to the temptation to grab onto the back of speeding trucks just to get pulled up the hills. But to be totally objective here, we have to look at the multidimensional reality of this highway. Antoine, who's been driving trucks for 10 years, gives us a stark counter perspective. He says, what they are doing poses a lethal hazard. I often see it in the rear mirror. Some die. Think about it from his point of view. If a truck driver has to suddenly dodge a pothole or oncoming traffic, the cyclist trailing blindly right behind them,
they're going to crash. It's a genuinely terrifying and deadly situation for everyone trying to share that road. So the crucial point is that this infrastructure is literally a daily battleground. We're talking about roads that are often less than 6 meters wide, totally plagued by severe potholes, blind curves, and constant, heavy oncoming traffic. And to try to bring down the rising accident rates, the government has stepped up police presence, strictly enforcing fines against any cyclist caught holding onto a truck. So these guys, they are completely squeezed between total physical exhaustion and the law. Now, if a courier actually survives the highway, their journey isn't over. It all culminates as they approach Bujumbura, Burundi's bustling capital of about 400,000 people. Here, the challenge shifts to just surviving the capital itself. And it's right at the edge of the city where the physical toll of this journey hits its absolute peak. It's exactly here that we see the birth of a highly specialized, totally emergent micro-profession, the pushing assistant. See, the final ascent into the city is so punishing that it's physically impossible for a single person to summit it with a fully loaded bike. No way. So, local men earn about 10 cents for a grueling 15-minute stint simply pushing the heavy bikes up from behind. It's a job born entirely out of sheer necessity. And this brilliantly illustrates just how interconnected this whole system is. It's like a giant puzzle. The cyclist isn't just some delivery guy. He is the beating heart of a massive microeconomy. Brewers depend on them to move loads. Pushing assistants rely on them for their daily wages. Mechanics, like Alexandre, who employs nearly 100 people just to weld heavy iron bars onto these flimsy imported bikes and patch-blown tires, they depend entirely on this trade. Even local artists like Clovis make their living hand-painting ads for the tiny shops the cyclists deliver to. Inside the city, the realities of the market hit really hard. About 85% of Burundians work in agriculture, which means these markets are incredibly packed. And when the capital's main market tragically burned down in 2013, traders like Alice lost absolutely everything. Left raising 4 kids alone, she had to rebuild her life entirely on credit at the Cianon market. So when our courier Eric finally arrives to deliver her bananas, she often has to haggle the price down just to survive. At the end of the day, after risking his life on those mountain passes, Eric walks away earning roughly €1 per hour. But hey, the story doesn't end in the mountains. If we leave the capital and head south along the banks of Lake Tanganyika, the landscape, the cargo, and even the demographics completely change. Let's explore the southern palm route. Let's move south and see how this builds a totally different culture down here. We can really contrast the harrowing, super hilly northern route where older men are hauling bananas on short trips to feed their families with this flatter coastal road. Down south, they're transporting heavy loads of palm oil. Because the train is so much gentler, couriers here can actually travel up to 100 kilometers a day. And what's super interesting is that a lot of these drivers are younger. Take Patrick, for example. He's this agile student who literally climbed the palm trees and works as a courier in his spare time just to pay for his education. And the resourcefulness down here? It's just as impressive. Families harvest these bright orange-red palm fruits and process them in a communal squeezing machine that's shared by a 20-family cooperative. They use water to cool the machine down so the oil doesn't go rancid. The oil itself is used for cooking. They turn the pips into soap, and the leftover fibers, they use those for fire fuel. Absolutely nothing goes to waste. The whole shebang is incredibly efficient. So from the dizzying, breakless descents of the northern banana routes all the way down to the cooperative palm oil presses of the south, these careers truly are the lifeblood of their country. Which leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to ponder. As time marches on, will modern infrastructure and motorized freight eventually replace the incredible human engines of Burundi? Or are these courageous racing cyclists so deeply, permanently woven into the nation's survival that they will always be riding the edge? Thank you for exploring this with me today. Keep questioning the unseen forces that drive our world.